In a quiet valley surrounded by misty hills, there lived a woman named Meera. Her home stood at the far end of the village, where the road turned into a narrow path and disappeared into the forest. It was a small clay house with a sloping roof and a little garden filled with wild herbs and flowers. Meera lived alone. She had no family nearby, no wealth to speak of, and no possessions that others would envy. Yet, if you ever saw her, you would notice something unusual: her calm presence. Her eyes carried a softness that made people feel at ease, as if they had known her forever. Every morning, she would wake before sunrise, sweep her yard, and sit quietly with a cup of warm herbal tea. She didn't rush. She didn't complain. She simply lived, moment by moment. The villagers often wondered about her. How can someone with so little seem so content? They would ask each other. Some believed she had once been rich and lost everything. Others thought she had suffered a great heartbreak. But no one knew the truth, and Meera never spoke much about her past. Still, whenever someone felt burdened by life, they found themselves walking toward her small home. And she would always welcome them. She would listen without interrupting. She would offer simple food. And most importantly, she would smile. A quiet, reassuring smile that made heavy hearts feel lighter. One evening, as the sky turned orange and the air grew cool, a stranger arrived at her doorstep. He was tall, wrapped in a dark cloak, with eyes that seemed to carry many stories. Meera opened the door and looked at him calmly. "Are you lost?" she asked gently. The man shook his head. "No, I came here to find you." She didn't seem surprised. "Then come in," she said. She offered him a seat and served him a bowl of warm stew. The man watched her closely as she moved, slow, peaceful, without any sign of worry. After a long silence, he spoke. "I have traveled across many lands," he said. "I have met kings, merchants, and scholars. But everyone I meet wants more. More money, more power, more time." He leaned forward. "But you seem different." Meera smiled faintly. "Maybe I just stopped wanting what I don't need." The stranger nodded slowly, as if confirming something to himself. "Then, perhaps," he said, "you are ready." "Ready for what?" she asked. "For a choice," he replied. Meera raised an eyebrow, but remained calm. The man stood up and gestured toward the door. "Come with me," he said. Curious, she followed him outside. The evening had grown darker, and the stars were beginning to appear. They walked silently until they reached an open field just beyond the village. There, under the wide sky, stood 3 objects. But these were not doors. They were 3 paths. The first path was covered in smooth white stones, glowing softly under the moonlight. The second path was lined with tall golden lamps, shining brightly as if guiding the way to something grand. The third path was narrow, uneven, and barely visible, covered in dry leaves and shadows. The stranger turned to Meera. "Each path leads to a different life," he explained. "One leads to wealth beyond imagination. One leads to youth and beauty restored. And one," he paused, "leads to nothing new." Meera looked at the paths carefully. "Nothing new?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "It will bring you back to exactly the life you already have." She stood there quietly for a moment, observing each path. The glowing white stones looked peaceful. The golden lamps looked tempting. The shadowed path looked ordinary. The stranger watched her closely. "You may choose any path," he said, "but you can only choose once." Meera took a slow breath. Then, without hesitation, she stepped toward the third path, the one covered in leaves and shadows. The stranger frowned slightly. "You didn't even consider the others," he said. Meera turned back and smiled. "I did," she replied, "but I've already walked a long journey in life. I've learned something along the way." "And what is that?" he asked. "That what I have is enough," she said simply. The stranger looked at her, waiting for doubt or regret. But there was none. "Don't you want more?" he pressed. "More than what?" she asked softly. "More than peaceful mornings? More than a quiet heart? More than being able to sleep without worry?" She shook her head gently. "I don't need a different life," she continued. "I need to understand the one I already have." The stranger said nothing. Instead, he raised his hand. Suddenly, the other two paths revealed their truths. On the golden path appeared visions of grand palaces, overflowing treasure, and endless luxury. On the white stone path appeared a younger version of Meera, beautiful, admired, surrounded by people who praised her. The images were breathtaking. Anyone else would have been drawn to them instantly, but Meera simply looked and smiled. "They're beautiful," she said. "Yes," the stranger replied, "and they could have been yours." Meera nodded. "Maybe," she said, "but beauty fades, wealth changes, and people come and go." She looked down at the simple path beneath her feet. "But peace," she added, "that is something you build, not something you are given." The stranger's expression softened. For the first time, he seemed almost humbled. "You understand something many never do," he said quietly. Meera didn't respond. She simply turned and began walking back toward her home. The small clay house still stood where she left it. The fire inside was still warm. The night was still calm. And her life was still enough. The stranger watched her disappear into the distance. Then he whispered to himself, "Not every treasure shines."